Welcome to the BLTea Party. If this is your first time here, my name is Mo and I am your host to all things BL. If you've watched my very first video, you know that I am on a mission to watch all of the BLs announced for GMMTV's 2025 lineup. To keep myself consistent, I've set up a little rating scale. Here's how it works. I will be rating all of these categories from 1 through 5, and the categories are story, chemistry and acting, production, representation and themes, and rewatch value and emotional impact. I am very excited for today's episode because we're going to be diving into Memoir of Rati. Memoir of Rati is a historical love story set in the early 1900s that follows our main characters T and Rati. Rati, portrayed by In, is from Siam, which we know today as Thailand. He was adopted as a child by a French man and a Siam royal. As a result, he lived in France most of his life, and he speaks both languages. Our story begins with negotiations happening between the French and the Siamese governments. Because Rati speaks both languages, he becomes super important, and then later on in the story, he becomes a French teacher for Siamese nobility so that they can better their relationship with France amidst World War I. Which we really didn't get into World War I too much. I appreciate that. When this story first began, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed a little bit just because the way Rati arrived in this fake ship. I know they did the best that they could with their budget, but it was just kind of funny. Anyways, on his first day in Siam, Rati bumps into this commoner named T. T is portrayed by Great. I wouldn't say Rati fell in love right away, but T definitely did. They spend that evening together, they enjoy the festivities, and by the end of the night, T is a total goner. Eventually though, Rati finds out that T is actually a royal, and watching their dynamic unfold after that felt so special. I was completely charmed by both of them. I won't spoil too much more. If you're curious, just go watch it. It's a masterpiece. Besides Rati and T, we have a secondary couple, Mek and Dek. Also, I love how the names rhyme for both couples. Mek is portrayed by Ao, and I'm sorry, I can't say his name. I don't think I said that right. But anyways, Mek is a commoner, but he is a hard worker. I admired his work ethic. He was not going to be caught being broke, especially after meeting Dek. And Dek is portrayed by Boom. Dek is another royal of sorts, and I'm not gonna lie, I can't tell you where he or any other characters rank in nobility. All I know is Rati also got the attention of the prince, and that could have been a whole other love story I would watch. Continuing with Dek, unfortunately, he has the worst father ever. And I'm not even gonna waste my breath on that man. I will say though, all that badness, all that evilness just stayed with that man, Dek's father, because Dek honestly has a heart of gold, and he was my favorite character throughout this series. Mek and Dek were so good for each other. They continuously uplifted each other, and their love story was so wholesome, and I enjoyed every minute of it. That was just a brief description, like a very brief description of the drama. Obviously, if you want to see my ratings, I'm assuming you've also already watched it. And if you haven't, what are you waiting for? Go watch it and then come back and compare your ratings to mine. I will mention, I know this drama was based on a novel, but I do not read. I do read, but I have not read this novel. So all of my ratings will be solely based on the drama produced by GMMTV. I was thoroughly surprised by the story. It captivated me way more than I thought it would. I don't normally watch historical dramas, besides like Bridgerton, but I think I might be a fan now. The way this story flows felt so natural. It really took into consideration the constraints of the time, especially when it came to a relationship like this. They really took care of showcasing the love while also keeping it realistic for the setting. The pacing was fantastic in my opinion. Each episode felt like something was happening. A lot of companies, not just BL producing companies, fall into a trap where they have to have like that one filler episode where you're just waiting for the plot to move. And I may or may not be referencing The Summer I Turned Pretty and or The Next Prince, But with this drama in particular, I felt like they'd used their time very wisely. I thoroughly enjoyed everything that was happening, whether it was with Rati and T or with Mek and Dek. Except for Dek's father, that man, I was so glad when his whole story ended. Like, I did not care about him. He was just a menace, and for what? So, overall, for the entire story, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a 5 out of 5. I remember during my initial reaction to the trailer, I was a little iffy. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be my thing, but I'm so happy that it proved me way wrong and that I should have trusted the process, and I'm so glad to have it now. Now, the story was great, but I'm gonna be so real. I don't think just anyone in GMMTV would have been able to pull this story off. The acting from both Great and In elevated everything from great to fantastic. I did watch Wandi Good Day last year, and I can confidently say I love them way more in Memoir of Rati. Like, I could feel every single yearning look from T. I don't know how Rati was on the receiving end. I think I would have fainted. T as a character is just so, like, what a man. Like, he knows what he wants. He is not scared to show off who he loves, and he's not scared to love, and just what a man. Don't even get me started on all the secret rendezvous scenes for both pairings. Like, they would both just sneak off and like be in their own little world. Those stolen looks, it really felt like they were the only people in the world. It was conveyed so well by all parties involved. Mek and Dek had a lot of moments where they would just disappear and be by themselves. I loved all their random side quests, and I loved their arc. They were enemies very briefly, but then it went to friends, like really close friends, and then to lovers. It was so fun to watch their progression. I've loved both Ow, I can never say his name, and Boom together, and I've loved them in every project that they've done. I do think though it's really time for them to get their own series as leads. I'm hoping they finally get the spotlight they deserve after Only Friends. But yeah, so for chemistry for both pairings, again, 5 out of 5. They killed it. For production, I was very impressed, especially with the accuracy with the costuming, the props, and the lighting. The costuming was simple but great. I did a quick Google search for traditional outfits from 1915 from Thailand, and they were pretty accurate. I also really loved that they showed the differences in fashion between the French characters and the locals. It was visually pleasing and added so much texture to the story. The props were also well done. When they had Mek running around with that rickshaw, oh my god, I just know that Ao definitely got his exercise in every time they had to shoot with that. Also, the vehicles that they had, they didn't have them often, but when they did, I was like, are these replicas? Did they build them? Where did they source these vehicles from? Besides that, like, CGI boat, like, they did a pretty good job overall for all of the props and like the keeping everything consistent with the time period. Now, the sound for GMMTV's dramas have always been kind of wonky, so that's where my rating always takes a little tumble. But you know what? I'm gonna give it to them for lighting. Their lighting, I have to applaud it. I'm from the United States, and even with our massive TV and movie budgets that we have over here, somehow nobody knows how to shoot a night scene anymore. I could be in a movie theater in the pitch black and still can't see what's happening on the screen. But I've noticed with GMMTV, not just in Memoir of Rati, but like some of their other productions that I've been watching, their lighting is so pleasing during night scenes. For this particular drama, even though it was night, you could still see every single detail. And like the characters would hold lanterns or candles because electricity wasn't as widespread outdoors back in the day. And instead of making it super dark, which they could have, they had that excuse of it being super dark outside with no electricity, no lampposts, none of that outside. But the way they lit it, it felt authentic while also being watchable. Like I could see what was on my screen. So for production, I won't give it a 5 out of 5 just because of the sound. I might just be teasing them for it, but I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I think Memoir of Rati did a wonderful job of reminding us that love like this has always existed and will always continue to exist because it's completely normal. One thing I really admire about GMMTV is how consistently they normalize LGBTQIA love across all their projects. They create worlds where it feels like queer love is accepted everywhere, and sometimes they even flip the script so that straight people are the ones that feel like a minority. It's always such a refreshing perspective, even though sadly it's not the reality that we live in. For this series, I loved that they kept it grounded in reality. Thailand may be one of the most accepting places now, but it wasn't always that way. For example, the storyline with the grandmother not accepting tea, that hit me hard. And though it was harsh, I really do love that she stayed true to her beliefs until the very end. And unfortunately, that's reality, even today. Not everyone is going to come around, and the drama didn't sugarcoat that. So while it was painful, I do think it was necessary for them to have that portrayed. For themes and representation, I'm going to give them a 4.5 out of 5. The minus 0.5 just because it hurt a little bit that the grandma didn't come around. But I get it. If you've seen my reviews before, you know I'm not big on rewatching things. But that's why I added this category in the first place. If something is so good that I'd actually want to rewatch it, that says a lot. Here's a little bit of lore about me. I think one of the reasons I don't rewatch a lot of BL dramas or even K dramas or Chinese dramas is because I unfortunately do not speak the language. If I'm doing chores, I want background noise and I want to understand what's happening without having to look up. My chore time is also most of my rewatch time as an adult who has to work 40 hours a week. I've rewatched Never Have I Ever on Netflix so many times because I know I can just throw it on in the background and I don't have to look at the screen, but I know exactly what's happening. With Memoir of Rati and all dramas that are not either in English or Spanish, I can't do that. Not because they aren't rewatchable, but because they're too captivating and I'm going to end up not doing my chores and I'm just going to end up watching the whole thing, and that feels like a waste of time sometimes to me. So although it won't be a casual rewatch, I do want to rewatch it. I do think though that I would have to like book a nice hotel, be all by myself, get a lot of snacks, and just like hole myself up in that room and watch all 12 episodes in one go. So even though it's me, I'm the problem, I'm gonna give it a 3.9 out of 5 for rewatch value. Overall, Memoir of Rati was a beautiful surprise. The story was engaging, the chemistry was electric, the production was thoughtful and beautiful, and the themes were handled with care. It's a drama that doesn't just tell a love story, it shows us the struggles, the beauty, and the reality of what it means to love when the world doesn't want you to. So with all of that out of the way, my final overall rating, a strong 4.5 out of 5. That is the highest I've had so far. And I've only watched 2, so it's not that big of a deal. But I'm like so happy that I actually really enjoyed this, because again, I was very skeptical about it. Again, it's like the historical drama, and like I really haven't seen GreatInn that much. But I was thoroughly surprised. I was hooked every week. I was excited for the next episode to drop. And I'm kind of very sad that it's over now. Like, I don't have my place to escape to anymore. And I definitely left out a lot. I don't want to spoil too much in case some people decided to stay all the way and watch my review, and even though they haven't watched the drama. But I honestly could have gone on and on forever, both about Rati being adopted, or Rati's mom actually being his aunt. That was crazy. T being forced to get married, and then Rati thinking that he did get married and that the baby was his. It was not his baby. Rati's father being a traitor and not giving Rati all of the letters that T had been writing for years. The time jump of 5 years was also unexpected, so I'm guessing the war was over by then. World War I. Meg becoming an official translator. There's also T's brother who also just kind of disappeared. T's dad being in love with a servant. Oh my god, I could go on and on. But yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Did you watch it? What is your rating? And what are you excited for me to watch next? I have been watching Well Store XOXO. I'm catching up on that, and I am so in love with Milk and Love. Oh my god. And of course, I'm watching my magical prophecy, with Jimmy and C, which is also fantastic. So be on the lookout for those reviews. As always, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.